Stay tuned now for Spotlight Indianapolis with your host, Donna Jones.
Good morning and welcome to Spotlight Indianapolis. I'm your host, Donna Jones, and I hope that wherever you are this cold Sunday morning, you're warm and enjoying the blessings of the day. Speaking of blessings, I am doubly so to have with me this morning Andrew Lee, the Executive Director of Art with a Heart, a not-for-profit organization that provides a hands-on visual arts experience to educate and inspire at-risk children. Also joining me is Joanna Ireland, who actually has firsthand knowledge of the impact Art with a Heart has had on a child and is currently a site director for the organization, and Bridget Woodson, who is their marketing and communications intern. It is indeed a pleasure to have you all with me this morning.
Likewise. Nice to be here. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Before we get started, Andrew, I would like for our listeners to hear a little of your background because you have a very distinct British accent, which, by the way, I love. Are you from England?
I am, yes. Born in Birmingham, England, which is in the middle. That part of the country has a very distinct accent, which even English people sometimes find impenetrable. But my mother was very insistent I was going to grow up with a proper BBC English accent. So here we are.
And you have maintained it all these years.
Depends how long it is since I've last been home, to be honest. We're just off the Christmas visit, so it's quite English right now.
Oh, very good.
It gets more Australian as the year goes on.
What brought you to the States, and how did you get connected with Art with a Heart?
Actually, not long after graduating, my wife and I decided we wanted to spend some time in another country, and she's worked for Rolls-Royce since she graduated, actually even before that, and so we chose Indianapolis, where they'd acquired Allison Engine Company, and I became their first trailing husband.
Wow. And then where did Art with a Heart come into the mix?
So about 7 years ago, a friend of mine who was also in the nonprofit arena encouraged me to look at this opportunity. I can't say it seemed like an obvious fit at the time. I'm a physics major, and most of the team are either art educators or they're general educators.
Aren't those different sides of the brain we're talking about here?
You would think, wouldn't you? Yeah. But I love an underdog, and we certainly are that. And I learned a long time ago, a small, highly motivated, well-supported team can really have an impact beyond the size, and I think that's what we do.
And we're going to hear all about that impact here very shortly. Joanna, we're going to hear more of your story later because you actually have a child who has participated in the program. But for now, could you just tell us a little about you and what you do with Art with a Heart?
I'm a mother of 4, so I've always loved children. And as site director, I go around to the different sites that I'm over, and I make sure that they're implementing the program correctly and that the kids are having fun and engaged. And if there's any support I can offer to the teachers to make it run smoothly, I make sure they have all the supplies that they need and that the volunteers are there, and also doing an appropriate job with the kids so we can all enjoy ourselves.
That sounds like a really fun job.
It is. I love it.
Especially if you love kids, which you obviously do. What a fun job. Bridget, how about you?
I'm a senior at Butler University this year. I'm from Southern Indiana, and I basically do all of the behind-the-scenes verbiage, communication, and marketing for Art with Heart. And it started out as a internship for 1 semester, and I ended up staying because I just loved it so much.
Wow. So how long have you actually been involved with them?
It's been over a year now, so it's almost about a year and a half.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, Andrew, you must be doing something right. You came into your position at a difficult time as we were in the middle of a recession, yet here you are all these years later and going strong. How did you do that?
Well, as you would imagine, it's a team effort. I think it was Jack Welch who said, hire good people and get out of the way. And I really try and do that. And as you can see, we have great people. The core of my job is just to make it possible for them to do their work, whether that's fundraising, finding the right environments, dealing with those parts of it. And, the other thing we did was follow the money. And the money moved around a little bit during the recession. So we tried to move around to follow it. And we did that reasonably successfully, too.
Great. Great. Well, let's get to the meat of this. A lot of people probably have never heard of Art with a Heart. Tell us the story behind that. Now, as you mentioned, we actually discussed this earlier, you succeeded the founder, Carol Conrad. Could you share with us a little bit of her dream and how she came to bring it to fruition?
Yeah, my pleasure. I mean, Carol was an artist and teacher for many years and made a living working with schools and families who could afford to pay for quality art education. And as time went on, she felt this increasing awareness and concern for children who weren't getting the same opportunity. And in 2002, with the support of some friends, she created Art with a Heart, and it became a vehicle for that. We held 2 summer camps for 100 students down at St. Philip Neri Catholic School on the Near East Side, and then it grew from there.
Great. And that, I guess the mission is sort of built into what you just said, but what is the mission of Art with a Heart in simple terms?
So, yes, as you mentioned, we provide visual art education, and we're very tightly focused on dealing with what we would call underserved audiences. So, we're a little independent unit here. This is what we focus on. This is all we do, and we feel like we do it pretty well.
And how is it exactly you hope to impact these kids?
So we start, I said we talk about the visual art experience, educate and inspire, but I think the vision statement actually says it best. We want all children to have access to a high-quality art education regardless of their background. And we do that through creating an effective learning environment within our classes. We're very focused on getting capable instructors who have strong classroom management skills, a small group of students, quality materials, lessons that are fun, have a strong educational foundation. Mm-hmm. And then if a student responds well to that initial programming, which is usually either after school or summer, we encourage them to enroll in our Honours Art program, which is a studio program on Saturdays during the school year. And that's going to give them more advanced instruction, more advanced materials, a nurturing environment that gives them a chance to take risks and develop as people and artists.
So your programs, do they meet the core academic standards that are mandated by the state?
Yes, standards.
Aren't those fun to talk about?
Well, okay, so I'm not a very political person, but yes, we do. We politics aside, we feel there is a role for standards. It helps ensure that our programming is balanced and that we're addressing creation of art, but we're also addressing history. We're addressing other academic areas and integrating those where we can. There's kind of a quality control issue that comes with observing standards. So out of school time, we actually use national visual art standards because those tend not to change so much. And within school programs, you just have to make sure that we have enough admin time that every time there's a change, we sit down and we do the updates. And that's just something you have to do in order to work in a school. So
just kind of have to go with the flow and adjust as necessary. How many children do you currently serve?
My projection this year is we're going to be over 4,000.
And that's within central Indiana or the entire state?
So we're focused really here in central Indiana, and the bulk of that in Marion County. The bulk of our funding comes in Marion County, so the programming tends to follow geographically.
That's a lot of kids.
It is. Actually, about half of those we see through this great partnership we have with Indianapolis Public Library. And that enhances their offering. It helps us reach a wider audience of, in many cases, non-traditional students. And so we can encourage them into our programs, and the library staff love what we do.
Yeah, you mentioned non-traditional students. What is your demographic? I mean,
typically, historically, we see that about 70% of the students we're serving are coming from low-income families. But if folks are not familiar with poverty, the reality is it's actually just as difficult, if not more so, to exist in 100 to 180 or 200% of poverty too. So that really accounts for about 85% of the folks we see. And then we have a few specific programs. We've had a wonderful relationship that I've really enjoyed with Hope Academy, which is Fairbanks charter high school. We've worked with the Martin Center Sickle Cell Initiative, and also with the Julian Center. So.
Wow, well, you guys really are diverse in how far-reaching you are, and it sounds like you have made some great accomplishments and done some great things, which we're going to hear about more of. If you just tuned in, you're listening to Spotlight Indianapolis, and today I'm speaking with Andrew Lee, Executive Director for Art with a Heart, Joanna Ireland, a program participant and site director, and Bridget Woodson, Marketing Communication Intern. Now, Art with a Heart offers several programs, and I want to give you an opportunity to talk about several of those. In my research for today's program, though, I ran across a video where you said something that really struck me. You said people think of art education and they think of the product, but in fact, the process is just as important as the product. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, many parents are rightly proud of the art their child brings home from school, but one of our goals is to help the parents realize that the process has great benefits too. There's plenty of research showing how beneficial the process of art is. For children, the beauty of art is the opportunity to engage in a process that has no right or wrong answer, and there's really no other subject in school that allows you to do that, which means the student can focus on the process, and in the process you find such richness of opportunity, finding out, what do I believe? What do I want to say? What choices do I have? And how do I make those choices? How do I want this piece to look? How do I cope with mistakes? Which actually is a very significant transferable skill that kids pick up doing our programs. How do they feel when they finish something, and understanding what they learned from doing it?
So a lot of life-based skills are incorporated into this program.
Very much so, and that applies to the Creative Classroom Connections program we're going to talk about too.
Great. Let's talk first a little bit about your homeschool program. How does that work?
Well, we have a studio over on the Near East Side, and there's a strong homeschool movement in Indiana, and art is one of those things that parents can struggle with, especially in older grades, because materials can be costly, and if you have a parent staying at home to provide the education, then your household earning potential can be limited too. So homeschool parents often look for an outside provider for art, and we've been delighted how quickly our registration has grown. It's helped us cover the costs of the studio, of course. Now that we've got it, we want it to be full as often as it can be.
So if we have listeners out there that are homeschooling their children, do they just go to your website to get more information about the program and the costs? I'm assuming there are costs obviously involved with that.
There are, and yes, you can go to the website and find out about all of our programs. We do charge fees, and that's been a consistent philosophy from day one. It's almost it's just a healthy thing for us to do that. Demand tends to exceed supply, but given the nature of the audience that we work with, we have a sliding scale of fees. So if you take the honors program, for example, a family can send their child for as little as $2 a week or as much as 20, just depending on what your household income is.
And what is the website?
Excuse me, artwithaheart.us.
artwithaheart.us. There you have it, folks. I'm sure that will get repeated before the program is over. Now, you also offer an after-school art enrichment program. What is the goal of that program, and what does it entail?
So let me back up briefly to kind of a strategic discussion. There are multiple art education groups in the city, and the one thing that came clear to me after a little time in the job is direct competition isn't that helpful. So a few years ago, actually, we had this lovely meeting with me and some folks from the Art Center and Arts for Learning, and it was a great meeting, and we all came away, I think, with an understanding of how we individually contribute to the programming that's needed in the city. What makes us unique is the education qualifications of our staff. And so we understand art, yes, but we also understand how teaching works. We speak the same language as school teachers, principals, administrators, and we know about child development. And we tend to focus for that reason on early childhood, elementary grades, all of those things that go into program development. So that's our foundational basis for after-school programming.
And that makes for a good partnership, I would assume, with schools and the staffs.
It does, and that's one of the things that really encouraged us a few years ago when we were looking at dealing directly with early childhood grades in school. That was one of the things that encouraged us to take that step.
Now, can any school participate? I mean, I know you mentioned the demographic earlier, you're more at risk, but if a school, just some random school in Johnson County or Hamilton County, wanted to utilize your services, can they call you? Can they participate?
Yes, they can. I mean, we're looking for schools that fit the mission. And
Okay.
so for us, that tends to mean two things. One, there's an internal commitment to art. We're not likely to, I'm not likely to get very excited about going and raising money for a school whose art teacher doesn't have a classroom. And unfortunately, that happens. But also, we look for at least 50% of the audience that client brings to be within our main demographic. Obviously, if you're dealing with Center Township, whether it's public, private, or charter, most schools are falling into that category. As you go north, they still exist. But the bulk of the demand on our work really is south of 56th Street, all the way down into northern Johnson County right now.
Although that's good information to have, because for those schools who outside of the Marion County area whose populations do fit that criteria, this is a wonderful option.
It is, and we're certainly looking to expand. Like I said, Johnson County's been our first major push outside of Marion, but particularly as we're getting into these early childhood in-school programs, we're getting a lot of interest, and I don't think it's going to be long before we find ourselves elsewhere.
I think that's very exciting. Now, another program, and this is one that I know has received or is getting actually a lot of high acclaim, is the Creative Kindergarten Connections program. But this is a fairly new program, isn't it?
It is, and we're very excited about this. The story's a good one, I think. We did start serving kindergarten classrooms when the state approved all-day kindergarten program back in 2007. And financially, of course, the world was a different place back then. The program was very effective in teaching art skills and improving art skills learning, but it came at a price the recession simply wouldn't sustain. So we went into a huddle in about 2011, and we came out with a very different reason for doing the programming. And what we found was there are all these resources that are being directed at early childhood grades, but the general ed teachers running the classroom tend not to receive a lot of art education training, and the art teacher in the school who is hopefully supporting them tends not to receive a lot of early childhood development training. So art is, of course, a great vehicle for learning at that age, and so what we think we are doing here, what we seem to be doing here, is helping to improve the quality of teaching in the early childhood grades that we're investing so many resources into right now.
So this model for teaching is very interesting and creative, because, as you mentioned, it uses art to improve students' ability to achieve standards in reading, math, and writing, which is no easy task these days, given the educational landscape that we are currently in, the ever-changing educational landscape. I know it utilizes both teachers and volunteers. So exactly tell us how it works.
The technical term is a 3-center rotating model, as my program director likes to remind me. What that means for the rest of us...
I was going to say, bring that down to our language.
What that means is we have 3 activities going on at the same time. We split the class evenly into groups, and we just move them from one to the next. The teacher operates the art book-based center, so they're doing an activity with art materials based around a book or a piece of art from a well-recognized author or artist. And then the volunteers help with the center that focuses on art, on math, and the center that focuses on literacy. And actually what's been hugely interesting to me is looking at the evaluation results from the previous 2 years, just how influential the work of those volunteers is in the outputs that we're seeing.
Tell us about that. Over a long period or how long a period does this report cover, and what were its findings?
So we started this in 2014, so it's 2 school years, really 3 semesters. And what we're finding is what our evaluators call positive measurable improvement, which again, to put that into English means the kids that are participating in our programs, we're seeing a higher level, consistently higher level of improvement over kids who are not, in a couple of key areas. And those are, we measure their creative behavior, and we also measure something called self-governing skills. And what's really critical about those self-governing skills is they are things that help children become more effective readers, among other things. So this is a program that actually supports many things, but also particularly one of the things that, for example, United Way is very focused on right now, which is making sure that a high percentage of our 3rd graders are reading at grade level by the time they get to the end of 3rd grade. So this is something that the evidence is telling us that our program supports that.
That's wonderful. I mean, however we can reach these kids and make them better readers, that's great that you're able to do that. If you just tuned in, you're listening to Spotlight Indianapolis. Today I'm speaking with Andrew Lee, Executive Director for Art with a Heart, Joanna Ireland, a Program Participant and Site Director, and Bridget Woodson, Marketing Communication Intern. Numbers are great, and I love hearing how effective this program is proving to be. But Joanna, you are tangible proof that the program works, because your son was actually directly involved in the program. Could you tell us just tell us your story. How did all this come about?
Oh, excuse me. I actually used to work for IPS, and I thought it was a great job because I was on the same schedule as my children who attend IPS. But my youngest son has special needs, and he was really, really struggling in the classroom. And I was unable to participate because I was at work myself. So I saw him struggling, and then they started Art with a Heart at his school, and he would come home excited because he felt successful, because there's no right or wrong way. So after a day of being discouraged because, in the teacher's words, he was making poor choices, he could be accepted and be proud because he created something, he did good, and it just really built his confidence to try other things and be a risk taker, and just to have that self-esteem that he was lacking because he didn't feel successful in other areas. So every Tuesday he was excited to go to school. So I actually started volunteering with the program that was running at the school I was working at, and that gave me an opportunity to really see what they were doing and to discuss that with my son. And he was just thrilled that I knew what was going on, even though physically I couldn't be there. So it gave us a way to connect, and he would come home so excited, and he would continue to create at home. And I couldn't throw anything away. No, Mommy, I can use that for a craft. And I'm still like, there's confetti type pieces everywhere in my home. And I'm just really happy and thrilled that he continues to have that self-confidence to try things and to feel successful, because he didn't have that before. So it was really a gift to us.
How long has he been involved with the program?
He was involved with the program for 1 year, and he also attended the Saturday morning classes because he just loved it so much that when I heard that there was a way to extend that, we chose to do that.
So he's no longer involved in the program.
That's correct. At this point, kindergarten is what we have, but we are expanding. And he's hopeful that we'll get that in place so he can participate again.
And that self-confidence, obviously that sounds like that's the hugest impact this program had on your son. Just the fact that his self-esteem was increased, and anytime you feel better about yourself, you're able to accomplish so much more. And
that's absolutely correct.
You attack things with a whole different energy. You've seen that continue even though he's finished with Art with a Heart for now.
Yes, because he was able to take those skills with him. So he learned a lot, and he continues to use it.
That's great. What a great story. I mean, what a perfect a perfect testimony as to the value and the impact art with a heart can have on so many. And that's what it all is about, correct? I mean, we're talking about impact here. I mean, Andrew, do you or Bridget have anything to add in terms of the impact any one of your programs can have on a child, be it academically, emotionally, or just generally speaking?
I think that's a very illustrative story that Joanna's told, and I mean, she's been a wonderful champion, which is why I had her come today. I mean, she skipped over the bit where she spent about 6 months wandering around the classroom saying, "I am going to come and work for Art with a Heart," which we all kind of laughed at that for a while, and then we're like, "Oh wait, we need a new site director." so here we are. She interviewed, and
what a perfect
she's
fit.
just such a great fit. We see a lot of impacts. It's not restricted to kids with special needs, but we've had some very nice things said by teachers, and the one that stuck with me a lot is that, one teacher said, "I can put 2 kids side by side in this program with very different levels of ability, and they both have positive outcomes." And for teachers dealing with the issue of inclusion in the classroom, that matters. It makes their life easier, and it helps facilitate them getting all of their kids to achieve the standards, which is what they have to do.
Now, I know we're talking about just kindergarten right here, but I mean, does your program cover, what age range does it cover? I mean, all the programs.
Well, as Joanna alluded to, one of the things that really struck me when we looked at the results from just doing 1 year with the kids in kindergarten was, we're missing an opportunity to continue to have impact and have that impact grow. It's like compound interest. The more you put into that child, the more we're going to get out. So actually what we've committed to now is over the next 5 years, we're going to roll out matching curricula so that we will have everything from pre-K through 3rd grade.
Great.
So School 107 has very graciously agreed to be our partner for a pilot program on a pre-K curriculum, and that should roll out in January of 2017.
Wonderful.
And we go from there.
Now, you need a lot of volunteers. Who can volunteer, and how do you sign up very quickly?
The first thing I probably should say is no art skill required.
Okay, that is important.
That's a very important thing. I think people understand. We provide a lot of training. Anyone can volunteer. We have found a lot of former teachers, retired teachers love it, artists love it, but anybody who's been a parent also appreciates the value of what this program is doing. We have a little army right now of about 60 who are helping us cover 27 kindergarten classrooms and 2 pre-K as of this month, and that's only going to grow. So yes, we would love to have a stampede of volunteers to help with this thing.
And just go to artwiththeheart.us.
Indeed.
Correct.
Yes, there's information online and a volunteer
Okay.
form.
And then what about donations? I mean, you have some great corporate sponsors. I saw that on your website, but I'm sure anybody can donate. So, again, do you go to the website? What can you tell us?
They can certainly donate through website if they're comfortable using credit cards and such. We have a PayPal link in the top corner. I also encourage people to come and see the program. We love touring people around this thing. There is no better therapy than an hour and a half in a kindergarten classroom, let me tell you. Everybody's smiling, everybody's happy, everyone's laughing and running around and having a good time. And you come out of there feeling very positive. So, if somebody wants to learn more about it, I'm always happy to take people around.
Well, and again, folks, that's artwiththeheart.us. Not surprisingly, guys, our time has flown by and we're going to have to wrap things up. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here today. You not only have enlightened us about Art with a Heart and all they offer at-risk kids, but you've also educated us as well on how truly beneficial art is to the learning process, not just academically, but socially and emotionally. Because of the work Art with a Heart does, you are giving all children, regardless of their background, the opportunity to improve their quality of life through artistic expression. And that, my listeners, is a beautiful thing. As I close out today's program, I do so with sadness and a heavy heart. as I share that one of our executive producers, Glee Rennick May, has passed away after a courageous battle with cancer. This show is dedicated to her, to the love she had for Spotlight Indianapolis, and her belief that the information shared here has the power to make a difference in the lives of so many. I'm Donna Jones, and I want to thank our executive producers, Matt Hiblin and Glee Rennick May, as well as our in-studio producer, Matt Hiblin, for making this program possible. And to our listening audience, thank you for tuning into Spotlight.